Hello everyone, my name is Jumbo TCG, and today, I know I'm really the strongest soldier, but we can all admit that all force is a bit lacking at the moment in terms of strength within the metagame. Maybe like tier 2 at best. So, it's going to be a deck profile about the main deck that I think going forward that people should be investing in, that people I think should be either buying the cards for the deck themselves or learning how to consistently beat it, or be playing a deck that will consistently beat it. Because this deck going forward, it's already strong in 15, it's going to get even better in 16, and probably moving forward into EX6 as well. And that deck is Numemon. Now, with Numemon, there's been two variants that have been floating about, black and purple base. Black allowing for more consistent card draw and allowing for ability to just create a board of floodgates that allow you to then just outvalue your opponent for the rest of the game. And then purple base being a lot more aggressive, being able to play some more tech cards, as like Sword the Feet, that allow you to be even more sacky and even more aggressive, which this deck wants to do. But I feel with how the meta has developed over 15, especially with Mirage becoming this tier 1 threat, essentially people have got back on the deck, they've started realizing that it has an insanely good Nume matchup, and the majority of the meta game as well, it has an extremely good matchup. So I feel like going forward, maybe black base for just the end of the format might be the way to go. So I was going to jump into it, essentially. So for the eggs, 4 Numemon. Essentially, these are standard. A lot of people have decided that this is like the best black egg for this deck. It's just when another Digimon digivolves, you may draw a card. So when you digivolve into a Monster X, you draw. So you get to stack that before you do the Monster X trigger. Also, it's just because you're playing black base and majority of your level 4s and 3s are black. Essentially, you get to develop a stack in the back, which into a lot of matchups is crucial. I mean, stuff like Mirage. The reason it's crucial into Mirage is that it's crucial into Mirage because when you add an effect to your hand, when you add a card by an effect to your hand, they gain memory. But essentially, if you have the Tumon with this underneath it, you essentially still get the draw and you don't give them the memory. And then also, the fact you can build a stack in the back against Mirage is really good because it allows you to have agency in when you want to go for your plays, instead of something like purple base, where you have to have the body stick and then hope they don't interact with it. That's for the main 4 eggs. And then just for the 5th egg is the Tokumon. The Tokumon's fine. It's just on deletion, if you're trying to turn draw a card. There's a couple of people who are playing Kyokomon. Essentially, when a opponent's turn, when a Digimon unsuspends, so just in the reboot, draw a card, that could be more consistent, probably get you some more draws. I'd say for that egg, the Mirage matchup does this into it. So, yeah, this is just a generically good 5th egg. There's not a lot to say, to be honest. And then a mandatory 4 Uko. This card is ridiculous. And the fact we're getting a new Uko in BT16 that just allows you to get even more value is insane. So essentially, it's when you promote from raising, you get to hatch an egg first, which is important, and then gain a memory. So the hatch is important due to it being shockable by your opponent. So if you declare the memory gain first and then attempt to hatch, your opponent will be like, nope, you've gained the memory, so you don't get the hatch. So that's important for stuff like regionals, where, sure, you're getting shocked, technically, but at a regional, that will just hold up with a judge. If your opponent says to the judge, oh, he resolved his effect by gaining the memory first, the judge can't really be like, but you're shocking, because it is what the card says. But yeah, so the mandatory 4, it just turbos your rookies out for stuff like Monster X plays, and it's also just creating as many bodies as possible just to establish a board that your opponent really can't contest. It's just why this card is crucial. And the fact it hatches an egg, which is insane, essentially just automatically replaces itself on promote, which is incredible. And then for the next level 3s, this is the floodgate spot. I've seen people play a mix of Chikuri and Chu, but I've just decided 4 Chumon probably is the way. So my logic is that if we're getting defects, we're probably losing anyway. So essentially, you just want to get as much value from your Floodgate as possible. And for how the format has gone, where Mirage has become the best deck, making multiple Tumons against the Mirage full combo is incredibly good. It essentially just turns off some of their effects as they're going up the chain. And then also the fact you can just, if they bounce it, you can just play it again is really good. Also, it probably just has the widest general uses out of all the Floodgates that are in black. Chikuri really only stops Bully Flare and Defex. And then there's like Okuamon, which prevents Digivolution requirements to be ignored. So I don't know. I guess if your local metagame's full of Beelzemon, that card's kind of juicy. But you know, 99% of the time, 4 Tumon's pretty much all you need. It's just probably is the best Floodgate at the moment for the game. And then these are the non-engine frees and the non-Floodgate frees. So I'm on 3 of the Structure Deck Agi. The reason it is that essentially you can apply the same logic with the Structure Deck Gabu in purple. Essentially it is just a good free that you can drop. Its inherit is pretty nice, especially because you play a large block account. And the fact it just is a Hammer Spark at the start of your turn if you have a Digimon, which is incredible. It's good to Evo into after you promote an Uko, so you can guarantee yourself a memory on the crackback. And it's just fine to play with Monza X if you need to sometimes. It's fine to pass turn on it, because it essentially does pay. It essentially is a 2-cost rookie that just has to pay itself a turn after. Another slot this could be is just free Chikuri. You just max out on Floodgates. This could also be the Security Chikuri, if you wanted to have a bit more spice in your security. This could also be the Security Doremon for the same effect. But I feel for the most consistency possible, just having a body that will just refund your memory at the start of your turn is just the most logical for me. Now onto the one of rookies. So on 1 Aggro-X, this Aggro-X is very good, I think. So the effect is, on Evo, you get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You get to add a card with Greymon or X any trait and a black tamer to your hand. So essentially this searches Nume X's, Monza X's, Satskis, and Protoforms, which can come up a lot, especially for a 0-cost Evo. It's just generically good. And also it turns on your Agumon Inherit, which can come up a lot. Also, you can just play it off Monza X, which will get you another search. We've seen developments in Purple Base recently where they played a 1 Gabbert X, obviously, because that card is just incredibly good. You can apply the same logic here. Sure, you don't get the Inherit, because it is only Greymon or Omnimon locked, but I still think the search is generically good, especially in a deck that can sometimes fall short on cards if they can't establish their engine. There we go. And then, funny little one-off tech, I'm on 1 Bushi Agu. So essentially the idea is that you just play off the Monza X and it's just a 3k rusher. So there'll be a lot of times when you're playing, when you have a low card count, it'll be like a extremely simplified game state of just like, oh, if he has Monza X, I lose, but he can't kill me. So there'll be times where it's like, cards in hand, I have like 4. So, okay. If he has Monza, he can't have Monza X Satsuki Nume, but I can have Monza X Agumon. Bushi Agumon. And then also, the Bushi, in my opinion, is very good because it is a body that you can then immediately contest another guy with. So if you have a suspended like 8 or something, you go Monza -3, Monza X -4. Put the Bushi, it's a 3k rusher into like a 8k. So essentially you get to contest that level 5 with your level 3, which is really good. Also, it's just really funny stealing games. There's sometimes where you can just hard play this guy to start your main, because you've just gained enough memory from your Ukos and your Agus. Now on to the level 4s. I feel with the level 4s, they are pretty much unanimous with most Nume lists. I think the amount of Numes needed has been solved for the meta deck already. So there's 2 techs in here, but they were pretty much early meta game adaptations that I feel have started to creep back up in viability now, especially due to so many stacks decks having overflow at 5. So for Numemon, this is standard. Essentially is just, it counts on Numemon at all times, so you get to use without back of Nume X, and its effect is on play, pitch a card with Nume in its name. That's pretty much all that matters. To draw 2, so essentially it gets your platinums in trash, it gets your other Nume names in trash, it lets you filter cards in your early game, and it's also just a really good hard swam. The fact you can go like Monze X, play this, pitch card, draw 2 is incredibly good value as well. Yeah, just cards are phenomenal. If it said pitch a Monzemon card as well, this card would be probably the best Nume card in the main deck. Now on to the fan-made card, Nume X. This card was, in my opinion, a mistake. This was Bandai's attempt to give Numemon some viability, but then they completely missed the mark and made this insanely good custom card. So it's got the all turns effect. It can evolve on top of a Nume for 0, and then all turns, if it has Numemon or X anybody in the source. So with this deck, I am on 2 Proto. So the only way you can generically resolve this is with the Nume in the name. So you just get to spawn a card with Nume in its name from your trash. So at the moment, there are only 2 legal targets that are higher than level 4 that you can play off this. There's Black King Numemon, which is level 5, and there's Platinum Numemon, which is level 6. The fact you can spawn a level 6 that is 10 cost for 0 off this guy is insane. The fact that you can just check for 2 or crash into a guy you need to kill, you crash into it, float into a 6, and then make any tech 7 you want is insane. This card was a mistake, and the fact that it has the inherit that doesn't even need the Nume in the source to resolve is insane. This will come up soon when I show you my tech at the 4s, but this card is insane. We've seen adaptations recently where you play 1 or 2 Chimera in purple base. Essentially, sometimes you can establish a stack of triple Nume X in the source and then make a platinum. Oh yeah, I'll have 4 floats if you try to kill my guy, by the way. And you check in. It's so funny. This card was an inherent mistake. I don't even think they're going to put this to 1. It's either this card at 1 or Monze X at 1. And now onto the other Nume names. I am on 3 BT14. Essentially, the amount you play is equal to the amount of Satskis you play. So I'm on 3 Satsuki. Essentially, this guy will just give you a free Rush Body and a Tamer. It's on play when Digimon by placing a Satsuki to the bottom. One of your Digimon gain Rush. So there'll be some times where you will check with a Platinum. Platinum will spawn a Monze. You'll get a card. Monze will make Monze X. And then obviously it doesn't have a Rush, right? But you can just go Nume, give it Rush. And then that sometimes can be the differential between game and not game. Also, it's just a free drop Rusher, essentially. This is very good. And the fact sometimes that you don't even need it as a Rusher, you can just play it you just play it for a body, and then it also gets you a Satsuki rotation. So essentially it goes memory neutral. It can be very good sometimes. And then the inherit of generic blocker comes up a lot, especially with non-Nume named 6s and 7s. And then for the other 2 Nume names in the main, we're on 2 RB1 Nume. This guy's really good. He's a really good filter early on. It's on deletion. Look at the top 3. Add a card with Monze and add a card with Nume in its name to your hand. And then bottom deck the rest. So essentially, early game, this can be a really good filtering tool, especially if you double hit off it. It can be a good card to pitch off Gere if you do not have another target in hand, or you have a target you want to pitch at a later time. Also, its inherit is just if the card has Nume or Monze in its name against blocker, so it is just another blocker source. It is not generic blocker, it is archetypal blocker, but realistically, you're making this with a Monze or a Monze X, so most of the time it will have blocker. And now for a 2 of tech that was part of early innovation at the start of BT15 post-ban list, but now doesn't get as much play, but I feel it should, especially now with Mirage creeping back up. And that's 2 Tawar. So Tawar is supposed to be Hunter support, right? So it's a free cost to either on top of a free 1 cost either on top of 4. When digivolving, digivolve one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon, and then for every 2 source, you may increase the target level by 1. So essentially, if you have a Tokamon and a 3, either for 3, you get digivolve a 6, so it's a 3 cost digivolve. That's very good, efficient. And then there'll be some times where you go Monze X, play a guy, Nume X on top, and then Tawamon on top of the Nume X. So essentially, you get a DP minus and a digivolve for all of 1 memory. It's going to be very good on rate. The only downside, in my opinion, about the Tawar is that you cannot digivolve the RB1 Monze on top of it. You can still go Protoform Monze X, which is probably the best about this card. You can go Reru. Reru would be a 4 cost though, unfortunately. But I feel that, especially with how the meta has developed with Mirage, I'm gonna say Mirage. I fucked in this video. I genuinely just feel that Mirage, especially in Europe, has been absolutely dog walking the region. It has won the past 4 out of 4 European events, which is crazy, and it has arguably the best matchup spread into the format. So we just need low-end ways of outing Mirage cards, and I feel like Tuwamon is the objective best way of playing into it. Now on to the 5s. There's not been a lot of innovation with the level 5s. A lot of it is just Monze archetype locked. This is also probably the most egregious part about the deck regarding the card choices. So you're on 4 RB1 Monzemon. The sad truth is that you do need a playset of this card for this deck to work. I've seen people trying to run the BT14 one as a budget choice. If you're at locals and you just want to have fun with this deck, sure. But if you're at a major event, you need a playset of this card. This card does literally everything with the archetype. It lets you extend out. It becomes a 5 cost level 5 with an insane on play. And the fact you can combo it with Monze X is insane. So it's on play by, it's got 2 on players. So the first on play is by attaching a card with Nume in its name from your trash. Gain 2 memory. So essentially you get to attach any Nume name. So you get to attach generic blocker, you get to attach archetypal blocker, you get to attach Nume X, which can come up a lot. And then its other on play and when digivolving is that when your opponent's Digimon gets sec -1 and -3k until the end of their turn. Now this comes up a lot, especially with Platinum. Arguably the most egregious thing about this deck is that they just randomly kept giving this deck DP minus until the end of your opponent's turn. Which in my opinion they shouldn't. It just allows this deck to essentially just choose a guy and say no to it for the rest of the game. Generic, this card is phenomenal, especially when you combo it with all the good cards. The only downside is the cost. They are about £20 a copy, and it is a rare. So if you find a shop selling cheap RB1, buy it out, and you might just pull some Monzes and just make your money back. Now on to 4, again, there's not a lot of innovation in this lineup. 4 Monze X, this card is a custom card. This is some shit they print in Yu-Gi-Oh! To make Dark Magician broken or some shit. I don't know. This card is daft. So it is a 8k level 5, either on top of a black and a 3 for 3, either on top of a 0 with a Monze in its name. So essentially you get to evolve on top of Rarus as well. All turns, when digivolving, you may play, if you have a Protoform or Monzemon in the source, you may play a level 3, so any level 3 from your hand, or a card or a Numemon from your hand. So essentially it spawns either a 4 or 3 on Evo. And then all turns, once per turn, when one of your other Digimon would be played, you get to -2k one of your opponent's Digimon for every Digimon you control until the end of their turn. So essentially if you resolve it on your turn, you get to mark something with X amount of DP until the end of your opponent's turn, which is insane on a 5. So you're making all turns once per turn effect. Combo it with like stuff like the Nume X that allows you to play stuff on your opponent's turn. Essentially you just get to control the board of this, and the fact that having it on top of this Monze just means it's a 2-checker. It's insane. This card and Nume X are the main reasons why this deck is now a meta threat. Yeah, this card is ridiculous in my opinion. generic. In my opinion, it should be banned. I think, especially with how 16 was looking in Japan. I think this card just generally just needs to get hit, in my opinion. And then 2 of the last 5, just the other in archetype 5, the Weremonze. So this card is really good into the mirror match, and is also just another form of interaction that you can force on your opponent. So it's on play when Digivolving, you may trash a card with Numemon in your name or from the sources to Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. And then on play, by placing a card with Numemon in its name to the bottom of this Digimon source from your trash, you may stun all 5 play cost or less Digimon from attacking the player. Now, it is a mini Kongu on a body. So stuff like Shine still gets played. Like Shine, it turns off markers for a turn. Stuff like the mirror match, essentially, if you have just all unsuspended bodies, is essentially can't declare an attack, which is very good. But yeah, it's just another good Monze name that you can convert into a Monze X. It has the same inherit, so it gives set +1, which is insane. Onto D6s. Seen people playing Zilong. I don't think I have the space. I'm just going to play 3 Platinum. So Platinum is on play when you may trash a card with Nume in its name to gain 2 memory. And then its on deletion is that you may spawn a level 5 or lower Monze or Nume from your hand. So essentially, there's a lot of times where you're generically evoing this, so it essentially becomes a 1-cost evo. And then there's times where you are playing it off at Nume X to essentially get a free 2 memory on either your turn or your opponent's turn. And then so essentially they loop into each other for the X amount of Monzes you have, because all the Monzes in archetype will just get you a Nume X back into the source, and then Nume X will convert into another Platinum on deletion. Some people is at 4. I think 3 is fine. Essentially, in my opinion, the second you have 1 in rotation, you're fine, unless you're exactly into Levia, who are attacking Black Gatos, or if you're into Ruga, who have Black Gatos. That's pretty much it for the Platinums. Then I'm on 2 Venus. Venus is just an incredibly good turn ender, especially when you're like trying to push damage to establish your lethal on board. So essentially, it's on Digivolution, or opponent's Digimon gain sec -1 for the turn, and then opponent's turn, all Digimon with security attack effects lose their when attackings and when Digivolvings. So essentially, how this card is deceptively broken. Because essentially how security attacks work is that it's marked with sec +1. So essentially, if you have an effect that has, it gives it sec +1, it's marked with sec -1, marked with sec +1, but because it's still marked with a security effect, nothing resolves. So a lot of times, you'll be playing into a Viamon, and they really do not have an out to a Venus, which can come up a lot unless they have to Bite and Crush or 7th Lightning. Also, it's just good for when you've gone for a wide swing out turn and then you just end on a Venus to put them to 4. Essentially, it is an unoutable body because they can't attack into it if they have a sec effect. But yeah, is this a good stall tool? It's a good tool for ending games. This card is ridiculous. In 16, we probably don't play it at 2 anymore. We can play better stuff. We can play Valkyrie Ace, we can play Rapid X because we're already on the Proforms. And now onto the 7 slot. I'd say the 7 slot is arguably where you can innovate the most with this deck. But the innovation is kind of like either Merciful, Shine, or Death X, realistically. And for me, personally, I've gone for 1 Merciful and 1 Ruin. So, the Merciful for the mirror match and for Davers. I hate Davers, especially with how much Daver has been popping up in the European metagame and also the American metagame. Is just really good into that deck specifically because you can do full combo, check them for a fuck ton of damage, and then just Merciful to pass the turn to shuffle in their grave so they can't establish a Fanglong. Or if they already have a Fanglong, they then can't Fanglong your board. And then for the Shine Grey Ruin, this card is just generically insane. 5 cost Evo. When you roll on deletion, -5k to your opponent's board, and at the end of attack, you may pop this Digimon and pop one of your opponent's Digimon to recover 1, and then if you have a Tamer, you may hatch an egg. So essentially, there will be times where you have a source with an on delete and this. So essentially, you're going to swing 15k, pop it, float, and then essentially you play another -5 and a heal. Also, it's just really good into the mirror as well. Just minus 5k in the board is essentially just a turn skip for them. Also, just generically as well, Shine Grey, if you can minus 10 a board, there's a turn skip for like 90% of the game, which is incredible. And now onto the Tamers. The Tamers have been pretty much sorted. People are still playing Worries. I'm not personally, I'm just on triple Satsuki. The reason that I don't think you need Worries is that you're already aggressive enough. People have been learning the deck so much that they've eventually realized that they can play more slots of cards they want instead of having to commit at least 2 to 3 slots to Worry to facilitate faster board states. Essentially, it's just secure play self effect. Start a main, you main game on memory, and then mind rank with a card with Numemon on Monze, and then the inherit is that it gives jamming and reboot. So essentially, it makes your Monze actually 2-checking jamming reboot. And then also you can attach it just to new names to just establish them as jamming guys. This card's crazy. The fact you can play it off BT40 Numemon is really good as well. But yeah, there's not a lot to say about this card. It's just generically a very good tamer. I don't know about if I could pass. Sometimes you just have to hard play it. And then for the 2 options of the deck, I'm on double proto. Again, I do think you need proto form for this deck. It is an expensive SR at the moment. They are about 18 euros. But the stuff that it can facilitate is crazy. It essentially turns all your Numemon X's into full effect Monze X's because it resolves if it has the source. Also, there's times where you'd want to protoform a Monze into a Monze X just so you have recursion for the Monze if you think the Monze X will get outed. But yeah, this card is just insane. Essentially, you get to evo any card into a card of X antibody for reduced cost by 1. So essentially, it makes all your Monze X's 2 cost. If they're on top of level 4s, and then its alternate effect, when this Digimon leaves the battle area, you may add a card from the source back to your hand and then place this card to the top of your security stack. So essentially you get a heal one that also adds itself back to your hand, and then you also get to recur a material back to hand. So yeah, I genuinely think this card is like a mandatory in the deck. People are playing 1, I think 2 is the correct ratio. Okay, well, lovely. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you. I'll hopefully see some people at Salford. Right, boy. Have a good day.